If you're a Demon Hunter player and you logged in and suddenly you notice you have a third spec, this is Devourer. And if you don't understand how the spec works, this video is just perfect for you. Devourer is a brand new Demon Hunter spec in the Midnight pre-patch. Historically, Demon Hunters had two specs, Havoc and Vengeance. Now you got a third one, and it's basically the complete opposite of what you're used to. It's void themed, it's ranged, it uses Intellect as your main stat. You still use Demon Hunter weapons, but your main stat flips from Agility to Intellect. Make sure to double check your weapon's main stat actually changes. Only Warglaive changes your stat. And gameplay-wise, Devourer is a builder-spender spec with a unique way to play that combines melee and ranged. Because Devourer is new, not everything is fully out yet. Some key effects aren't available until the full expansion release, so some recommendations here are subject to change once future systems like Apex Talents become available. Also, the spec is already showing some weirdness in tuning, so don't be shocked if the way you play in Midnight is completely different. Before we get into anything, this is the talent build I'm running for this guide. I'm throwing it on a screen right now. If you want to copy it, the import string is in the description. This build is mainly used for Mythic Plus dungeons in the Midnight pre-patch, and the guide assumes you're using it. Alright, now that we've copied the build without reading any of the talents, because who does that anyway, I'll start going over the basics, starting with your resources. Devourer has two things you're managing. Your first resource is Fury. Your max Fury is 140. You generate Fury mainly by casting Consume, and you also generate Fury when you pull in souls with an ability called Reap. And outside of your big form, you're usually spending Fury on Void Ray, which costs 100 Fury. Pretty basic. Your second resource is Soul Fragments. I'm going to call them souls half of the time because it's shorter and I'm lazy, but it's the same thing. Every time you cast Consume, you spawn between 2 to 3 souls. With our talent setup, you can hold up to 35 souls outside of being in Metamorphosis, or 40 souls when you're inside. I'll explain more about it in a moment. Souls stay on the ground for about 20-ish seconds before despawning. You can collect by walking over them or using Reap, which pulls in up to 4 nearby souls. The real reason souls matter is that they essentially work as your cooldown timer. Your main cooldown isn't on a timer, it's Void Metamorphosis, and you unlock it by collecting souls. Baseline Void Metamorphosis becomes available after collecting 50 souls, but with our talents, it's available at 35. So your main loop outside of Void Meta is literally generate Fury and souls, hit the soul cap, enter Void Meta, and deal a lot of damage.
No, that's a lot of damage!
Now that we understand what our resources are, I'll go over all of your main buttons. Your first button is one of your most used ones, and it's called Consume. This is your primary filler spell. It deals cosmic damage, it has a base cast time of 2 seconds, it generates Fury and souls, and it can be cast while moving. When you enter Void Metamorphosis, Consume changes name and becomes Devourer. Same keybind, but a new name. Welcome to Devourer, this is going to be a thing in the spec. Alright, now that we've generated a lot of Fury with Consume, we want to make sure we spend it. Void Ray is your main spender, and it's a big part of your damage. It channels for 3 seconds, deals heavy cosmic damage in front of you, and outside of Void Meta, it costs 100 Fury and has no cooldown. However, inside of Void Meta, it costs nothing. It has a 14-second cooldown, and when you cast it, it briefly slows down your Fury drain from Void Meta. So Void Ray is your spender outside of the form, and inside of the form, it becomes a free cooldown button that also helps you to stay in the form longer. Another effect Void Ray grants is Student of Suffering for 6 seconds, which increases your mastery and generates 3 Fury every 2 seconds. This is an important buff you want to maintain, especially before you go into Void Meta. Your next ability you need to know about is Reap, which deals instant cosmic damage, has an 8-second cooldown, pulls in up to 4 souls, and generates Fury when it pulls them in. Reap is currently tuned to be pretty weak, but some talents make it more relevant, and more importantly, it's how you collect souls without running like a Roomba. Inside of Void Meta, Reap changes its name and becomes Call. Again, the same keybind, but a different name. Yeah. I know. Alright, we mentioned Void Metamorphosis quite a lot. And this is essentially your main cooldown. Unlike most specs, it has no fixed cooldown timer. Yeah, this is a little confusing, but bear with me. You can cast it after gathering enough souls, which again, as I said, baseline is 50 souls, but with the build we are running, it is 35 souls. When you enter Void Metamorphosis, your damage spikes, and you gain access to a new ability called Collapsing Star on the same keybind. Some of your abilities are upgraded and renamed, and your Fury starts draining slowly at first, but rapidly drains at a quicker rate. When you run out of Fury, you get forced out of meta, and that's the whole identity of the spec. So we mentioned Collapsing Star. Collapsing Star is only available inside of Void Metamorphosis. Every 30 souls you gather while transformed lets you cast one Collapsing Star, which currently deals moderate cosmic damage to your target and nearby enemy. While you channel it, it briefly pauses Fury Drain, and each star becomes stronger during the same transformation by the talent Impending Apocalypse. In our current talent setup though, you only cast Collapsing Star on 3 or more targets, and never on a single target. But I estimate that future tuning will shift its importance due to the spec's design. Devourer naturally has a ranged playstyle, but one of the hero talent setups leans heavily into a melee ranged combo aspect. That's the Void Scarred hero talent tree. So what happens, and why new players, and honestly me too, get confused, is that the same keybind turns into different spells depending on the state. So Consume turned into Devour, Void Blade turns into Pierce the Veil, Hungering Slash turns into Reaper's Soul, Reap turns into Call, and there's another upgrade that happens after Void Ray, Eradicate. After you fully channel a Void Ray, your Reap or Call upgrades into Eradicate. It becomes a very powerful 25-yard cone, and it gains all of the bonuses of a standard Reap cast. Also, fully channeling Void Ray activates a talent called Moment of Craving, which makes your next Reap, or in our case, Eradicate, can consume up to 10 souls instead of 4, which is huge. Another thing that's a big part of the Void Scarred build is how you get in and out of melee quickly. After using Void Blade, that keybind gets replaced by Hungering Slash for 6 seconds. Hungering Slash deals cosmic damage in an 8-yard radius around you, generates 10 Fury, generates 2 Soul Fragments, and grants a new effect called Void Step. Void Step gives you a free charge of Vengeful Retreat and buffs your next Vengeful Retreat to deal extra cosmic damage in an 8-yard radius. So Vengeful Retreat can become part of your offensive rotation, but only if it's buffed by Void Step. Right, so this was the basics. Now you should basically understand what each button does. So let's put them in order of importance in a single target priority, going from the most important thing you need to do, and if you can't do that, you go down the list until you can. I will separate the single target priority into 2 sections: the things you prefer to do when you're outside of meta, and then inside of meta. Starting outside of meta, this part is very simple. You're building up souls and fury, and you're prepping to enter meta. Your first priority is to cast Void Blade if you're about to enter Void Metamorphosis. The reason being is that you can carry over the Hungering Slash proc that you get from using Void Blade into the next meta window. So usually if you are about to enter meta, like if it's your next ability, I would use Void Blade just before it so I can carry over that proc. Your second priority is to cast Reap if you have 31 souls collected, and this will collect 4. Quick maths, this will get you to 35 and will enable you to enter meta, so you then can press Void Blade into meta. Your third priority is to obviously cast Void Metamorphosis, and this is only the third priority because the first and second ones are important setups to do before you enter meta. And otherwise, you would just spam Consume to generate those souls. And now the single target priority inside of Void Meta. This is where the damage actually happens. Your first priority is to cast Call, the empowered version of Reap, with 4 or more souls nearby. Your second priority is to cast Reaper's Soul, the empowered version of Hungering Slash, when you're in melee range. This ties directly to your third priority, which is to use Vengeful Retreat if it's buffed by Void Step. And assuming you just pressed Reaper's Stall, this will generally be your next ability. And just like the previous one, your fourth priority is to cast Pierce the Veil, which is the empowered version of Void Blade, to fly directly back into melee right after you pressed Vengeful Retreat. Your fifth priority is to cast Void Ray, and this is mostly to reset the cooldown of Eradicate. And otherwise, you just cast Devour, the empowered version of Consume, to generate more souls. Alright, so what changes in AoE? Just like I divided the single target priorities between being outside of meta and inside, I will do the same for the multi-target priority, starting with what you do outside of meta, fighting multiple targets. Your first priority is to use Hungering Slash. This deals a lot of damage even in single target and especially in AoE. Your second priority is to use Vengeful Retreat if it's buffed by Void Step. And your third priority is to use Void Blade to trigger it changing into Hungering Slash. Continuing onwards to your fourth priority, which is to cast Eradicate. Just a reminder, this is the ability you get from fully channeling a Void Ray, which directly connects with your fifth priority, which is to cast a fully channeled Void Ray. If you are close to getting into Void meta, do it as soon as possible. Don't delay it. Otherwise, if you can't Void Ray or Eradicate, you would mostly just consume to continuously generate soul fragments. Alright, now this is the last priority list, I swear. The multi-target priority inside of Void meta. Your first priority is to execute that melee ranged ping-pong combo, so I'll go over those three first priorities. Reaper's Stall is your first priority. This will grant you Void Step. Vengeful Retreat if it's buffed by Void Step, which it is. This is your second priority. And Pierce the Veil is your third priority, then you go back in. Boom. Your fourth priority is to cast Eradicate. Your fifth one is to cast a fully channeled Void Ray to proc Eradicate. Your sixth priority is to cast Collapsing Star, which is a better value in AoE than in single target. Your seventh priority is to use Call with 4 more souls to keep Call on cooldown and to collect more souls. And otherwise, you just spam Devour, which is again the empowered version of Consume. Alright, that was a lot. I know. Trust me, I know. To make this more understandable, I want to show you the opener on some dummies. Before the opener even starts, you don't have a lot of choice but to build up to 35 souls and 100 fury by spamming Consume over and over. When you get that taken care of, your opener sequence will look like this. Fully channel a Void Ray to gain Student of Suffering and Eradicate. Void Blade to proc Hungering Slash and to get into melee. Enter Void Metamorphosis. Use the Reaper's Stall carried over from the Void Blade we just used. Use the Eradicate from the fully channeled Void Ray from the start. Because we're in meta, you can use another Void Ray to get another Eradicate. You then proceed to use Eradicate immediately. Use the Void Step empowered Vengeful Retreat to get back into range. Then immediately press Pierce the Veil to get back into melee while you're in mid-air. This will grant you another Reaper's Stall to use. And then finally another Void Step empowered Vengeful Retreat to get back into range. After that, if it's a boss, you follow the single target priority, or if it's a pack of mobs, you follow the AoE priority. Alright, that was Devourer Demon Hunter for the Midnight pre-patch. Remember, this is pre-patch Devourer, so some tuning and recommendations may change once more tools come online later, but the core logic most likely won't change. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments below, and I do my best to answer everyone. If this video helped you, hit the like button and subscribe for more World of Warcraft guides just like this one. As always, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.